Hey guys, welcome back to my marathon reviews. I'm actually doing a double movie review. I'm doing Iron Man 2 and Thor, and I may have a little surprise for you guys at the end. Iron Man 2 was once again directed by Jon Favreau, and it once again has Robert Downey Jr. reprise his role as Iron Man. Perfect casting choice still. Iron Man 2 actually had very big shoes to fill, considering the first one was actually really good. And so, did this movie really succeed? Yes and no. And I'm going to get into those reasons right now in a spoiler review. Sorry. So, the plot of Iron Man 2 is very interesting, to say the least. Tony Stark's back to being a drunk billionaire again. Oh, and by the way, he's Iron Man, so I guess that's one difference. And also, he has to deal with the government constantly coming after his suit. They want him to turn his suit in, but he finds ways to avoid them, but they keep on getting closer and closer to achieving that goal. Oh, and by the way, Whiplash is in this movie. Yeah, Whiplash. Whiplash. Yeah. Oh, and also the newer guy who plays as Rhodey in the movie, by the way, the other guy who played as Rhodey in the last Iron Man movie, he got fired. So, that's something that's new. To be quite honest, the plot in the movie of Iron Man 2 is very complicated. I found it at times being very hard to follow, and believe it or not, the dialogue in this movie is very messy. You're constantly having like this people over talking each other all the time. You hear Tony saying one thing while Pepper's talking over him, and you're trying to follow what both of them are saying, but it sounds like a bunch of mumbling. And the dialogue is very hard to follow. So I found this movie very hard to follow. Nonetheless, still very fun, but let me get into some of the issues before I get into some of the good. Tony Stark in this movie does things that are kind of out of character from the first movie. The first movie, he gets out of the cave, he's a changed man, he's completely different. In this movie, he's back to being a drunk billionaire, and the only difference he has is an Iron Man suit, along with it. And it just really doesn't seem like much has changed about his character since the first movie. And sure, he changes a little bit more at the end, but he doesn't really change a lot in this movie compared to the first one. And I found that to be very disappointing. Also, I wish they gave Rhodey more to do in this film. He kind of just sits around, says witty things to Tony, and steals Iron Man's suit, and becomes War Machine. And he doesn't really say a lot in this movie. He doesn't have a lot to do with the film, and I felt like if you would have completely removed Rhodey, nothing about the film would have changed. And that is also very disappointing, considering this movie, back in the time it came out, was hyping up War Machine. Also, this movie introduces the character of Black Widow, starring Scarlett Johansson. And a lot of people had a problem with her being cast as Black Widow in the past because Black Widow in the comics is Russian, and, well, let's face it, Scarlett Johansson is not Russian. Honestly, I thought she was okay in this film. I wish they would have given her more to do than just to stand around and look pretty in a very bad looking costume. But thank goodness the costume improves over time, so I guess that's a plus. Okay, now that I got all the negatives out of the way for this Marvel film, let's talk about a lot of the positives. Robert Downey is Iron Man. He still is Iron Man. He does a very good job. Can't say anything negative about him. He's just doing what the script is telling him to do, and he is Iron Man as far as I'm concerned. He still does a good job as the character. Also, Whiplash is a better villain than the first one. You actually connect more to Whiplash in the movie, except I wish they gave him more screen time. And if they would have given him more screen time, I feel like he would have been a better villain in this movie. But in my opinion, I like him more than the last villain in Iron Man, which was the Ironmonger, and he was the most stereotypical villain you could have ever had. I also love this scene. And also, no matter what you say, the action in the movie is still good. Even though it has a lot of negatives, no matter what you say, it's still better than Iron Man 3. And for that, I give Iron Man 2 8.1 out of 10. Thor is about a character named Thor, and he is the prince of Asgard, and he has a magical hammer that grants him amazing abilities, as you guys should know. And he's about to become king of Asgard, but something interrupts him. These ice giants somehow get into Asgard, and he goes to their planet to find out why. In doing so, some events happens, and he starts a war between the Asgardians and the ice giants. In doing so, he infuriates his father, and he proves that he is not worthy of the throne. He gets stripped of his power and sent to Earth, where he meets another character on Earth who is a female, and they teach him what it means to not hold yourself above others. And Thor eventually becomes worthy of his hammer once again, and then engages in a really interesting battle against his evil brother Loki. And this movie is much better than Iron Man 2. And a lot of people really overlook this movie, in my opinion. People are like, Thor Ragnarok's the easily like the best Thor movie. And I'm like, yeah, but the first Thor was still good too, you know? And I'm about to get into why I think this movie is still good. Chris Hemsworth is good as Thor. There's a lot of comedy with his character, considering you're putting this godlike figure down to Earth. Literally, he's stripped of his power, he's sent to Earth, and, you know, he just kind of does things that you wouldn't do on Earth. This drink is good. I like it. Another! I also think the action scenes are okay. They're not as good as Thor Ragnarok's, which we will get into later in our marathon reviews, but they are definitely okay, although I will say the CGI could have used a little bit more work in this film. There are scenes of Thor flying around, but it looks very stiff when he's flying around. It doesn't look fluent, you know? Although the Frost Giants in the movie, the way their makeup is done and the way their characters are portrayed, I really like. Very creepy, good stuff. Finally, Loki. Wow. Okay, top 10 casting in a Marvel movie of all time. Wow, Loki was great in this movie. Loki's probably one of the best villains in Marvel history. Enough said there. As soon as I saw this movie, I knew he would be great in the Avengers. Wow. All in all, this movie is still very good. I really like it a lot. Though it has a couple of issues, I still enjoy it personally. But that's just my opinion. Therefore, I give Thor an 8.8 out of 10. Alright, I told you guys I had a little surprise at the end. Well, here's the surprise. I'm doing another double review. Because Endgame is coming out soon. Alright? We need to speed this up. We need to speed these reviews up. Next is Captain America, the first Avenger. Captain America? I did not bother to look at who directed this time around. Yeah, I know, my mistake. It's basically about a guy named Steve Rogers. He's this really scrawny guy, and he really wants to do the right thing. He wants to join the military, and he wants to help them fight Hydra, who are partners with the Nazis. And basically, he qualifies for this program where he becomes a super soldier. He gets super jacked and ripped, and he begins to fight Hydra as Captain America. I think this movie is decent enough. There are a lot of issues with it, in my opinion. I feel like the pacing kind of dwindles here and there in the movie. The CGI does not hold up super well in the movie. There are times where I look at the shield and I'm like, oh, wow, that looks like it doesn't belong there. And also, the green screens in the movie look kind of bad at times. Especially the scene where Captain America is chasing after the Red Skull in a car with his girlfriend driving and they're trying to chase after the plane. You could tell the whole background is green screen. And it just does not hold up well. The action scenes really do not highlight Captain America's strength or speed that well. That being said, Red Skull is a pretty decent villain, very stereotypical and very forgettable, to say the least. All in all, Captain America is a pretty decent film and definitely still worth checking out. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It's decent. Alright, so I'll give Captain America a 7.9 out of 10. And now to the main event. The one I've been wanting to talk about for so long. The Avengers. Man, this movie, man, I love it. I think it's almost flawless. There's only one little nitpick that I would have with it, but let me get all the positives out of the way first. First of all, Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Thor, all together in a movie. These iconic characters are fleshed out extremely well. They're all given their moment to shine. They all are developed in this movie. And I like how they actually are against each other at the beginning. They don't like each other that much. They don't get along well at all. And that's because you're bringing all these different personalities together. They're not going to mix together. It's almost like mixing oil and water. It's not going to mix. But then they find a way to both be oil and then they mix. And I really do like that about the film. And also the other thing I will say about the Hulk's character is the fact that in The Incredible Hulk, I liked The Incredible Hulk, but the biggest problem I had with it, which I didn't get into my review, was that whenever he transformed into the Hulk, it always seemed like a failure. And it shouldn't feel that way. When turning into Hulk, it should feel like you get this load of fun, and this movie embraces it a lot. And this scene right here says my thoughts about this movie and why I love it so much right here.
Enough! You are all of you beneath me. I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that.
Puny god.
Guys, The Avengers is an amazing movie. I love it so much. Loki is amazing in this movie. He is amazing. Everybody's amazing in this movie. The action is still superb. Although, let me get into my two little nitpicks I have about this movie. One being that it's very similar to Transformers Dark of the Moon, with a beam in the sky and the ships looking very similar coming out and an alien invasion. Very similar. And two, Captain America's costume could have been a little bit better in this movie. Come on, guys. You could have done a better job with that. But other than that, that's the only problems I have with The Avengers. Love this movie. Very good. Very fun. And I give The Avengers a 10 out of 10. Well, watch again. Always. Always will watch this. And so that was my review of Phase 1 films. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Can't wait until I get into Phase 2 films. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys for watching this video, and if you guys liked the video, make sure to subscribe today to join the Isaiahization.